Hey, Paul,
Yep.
looks like it's working.
Yep. I have it showing for the recording and live on YouTube, so we should be good to go.
Good. Okay. Well, I'll hang out because my meeting doesn't start till 7. So,
Okay.
hi, Cheryl.
I was muted. Sorry. Hi.
I feel like I just saw you.
I know.
Hi, Walter.
Hi, welcome back.
Thanks. How was your holiday?
Excellent. How about you?
Very good. My daughter came up from North Carolina to visit. She teaches third grade and they've been home teaching remotely since November. So she was safer than me.
Sure, she was enjoying the break too.
Yes, yes.
Oh, Beth is back.
Yes. I wasn't able well, I told you about before. My daughter was coming and then it's hard to, it's one thing when I have my 5-year-old grandson for the summer, but when you have a 9-month-old baby and the 5-month-old, it was not a quiet house.
That's okay. We totally understand. Tim came out of nowhere and dominated the meeting. It was
Really?
like out of your shadow. He just, was like, he was an animal. It was incredible. I mean, he was here, he was there. You wouldn't have believed it.
Go, Tim.
We were proud of him. We were very, very proud of him.
Very
Hi, Walter.
How are you tonight, Pam?
Walter. I never get a chance to say hi and welcome, and I am so happy that you joined us.
And hello, Cheryl. Was today
Walter,
your-
sometimes you meet a person and you know they're a keeper. Hi, Cheryl.
Hi.
Was yesterday your first day, Cheryl?
Yesterday, yes.
And you came back?
I did.
There you go.
Everyone seems a little surprised by that.
We got 2 days from it. That's good.
Who's Cheryl and why is she here? Tell me.
So hope you're
Nobody
settling in
wants to
well.
speak up?
I think so, yes. Yeah,
Very
a
good.
lot of
Sure.
stuff to get up to speed on, but I think it's going well.
That's good.
Well,
Everyone at
Cheryl,
town hall is so helpful, so I'm sure that they're more than
Yes.
happy to help you.
Everyone has been wonderful.
I want to help you, but I don't know what you do.
What,
Cheryl,
Pam?
I said I want to help her, but I don't know what she does.
Oh, yeah.
Finance, Pam, finance.
No, I
Finance.
do
you guys don't tell
my
me
checking
anything.
account and that's it.
What am I, need to know basis?
How Pam, you voted.
Oh.
You voted, Pam. This was like a couple weeks ago.
Did you forget?
I'm sure I wrote it down somewhere.
It was budget season, you know what I mean?
Everything's a blur. Yeah, I know.
Well, welcome, Cheryl.
Thank
We are just a somber and down to business group, and you're gonna love us.
I haven't seen much somber yet, but okay, go ahead.
No, we really are. I think it's just the holidays.
Good evening, everybody. Hey, let's see who we got here. We got Beth, and it looks like we got all the board members, and Cheryl. Boy, Cheryl, you came back after day one, and now you're here even for an evening meeting. Wow,
I know, I'm on a roll, huh?
we're on a roll.
Stop thinking that.
Okay, are we ready to start? Walter, are you comfortable if we start?
I've got 6:01 on my computer, so
Yep.
we're good to go.
Okay, so as chair of the as chair of the Northwood Select Board, and due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with emergency order number 12 pursuant to executive order 2020-04, we're authorized to meet electronically. There is no physical location. We're doing this by Zoom. And you can also watch it live streaming on YouTube. The meeting was posted on the town website, as were the links. Let's see, Susan, are we going to be calling you if there's questions about access?
Sure.
607-322-6232. Again,
Yep.
607-322-6232. If there's any issues with the meeting electronically, and if we have trouble as a board with the electronic portion of the meeting will be automatically adjourned. There might not necessarily be a vote to do so. Everything will be done by roll call. I'm going to start the meeting with the roll call for attendance. Matt,
Present.
Beth,
Here.
Tim,
Here.
Pam,
Present.
and Hal. So next up is the pledge to the flag. If everybody please rise, face their closest flag, and pledge to the flag.
So face Pam.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Let's see. So roll call. We're up to Citizens Forum. Anybody wants to talk, they can raise their hand. I'll give you a minute to do so. This is on the Citizens Forum. I didn't see any emails come in.
I didn't get any.
I didn't see any. Okay, I'm not hearing anybody or seeing anybody wants to chime in on the Citizens Forum. So we're going to go right on to the approval of the minutes. This would be.
Walter. Hal.
Pardon?
Walter's raising his hand.
Sorry, Walter.
I just wanted to take an opportunity before the meeting starts to introduce Cheryl officially as our new finance director. She comes to us with a great deal of experience in municipal finance, and we're really very happy to get her in our administration department, and we're very excited to be able to get Susan back to her normal responsibilities and lighten up Paul's load a little bit and put it all on Cheryl. So,
Yay, Cheryl.
Yeah, well, Cheryl, he's right. You have a pretty impressive resume, so we're expecting some great things.
Okay, all right, no pressure, but okay. I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, so welcome.
Thank
Welcome.
you.
And Walter, thank you for speaking up, because we talked with her before the meeting started, which wasn't official. So this is your official welcome, Cheryl.
Thank you.
Welcome to Northwood.
Thanks.
Okay, now are we ready to move on to the minutes?
I did tell Cheryl if she had a better offer, she could step aside, or she's welcome to stay.
I'm sorry, say that again, Walter. I missed that.
I said I did tell Cheryl if she had another commitment,
Oh,
she's welcome to step away from the
Yeah.
meeting this time.
yeah, just this time. Okay, good. So let's move on. Any edits to the minutes for the meeting on the 29th? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes as the draft as presented to us?
Move to
I
approve
make
the
a
minutes as
motion.
written.
I was ahead of him.
I'll second it. That's clearly Pam's motion.
Okay, very good. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving last meeting's minutes, please raise your hand. Oh, no.
We
gotta
need
do
to roll call.
Matt,
Roll call.
Aye, yes.
Beth,
I'm going to abstain. I wasn't here.
correct. Okay, thank you. Tim,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
and Hal is yes. Thank you. Moving on to the consent agenda, do I have a motion? Well, first off, is there anything on the consent agenda that people feel we need to take off and discuss separately? Walter, you were raising your hand.
I just wanted to mention, first of all, that you just approved Paul's first go at meeting minutes, and seeing that they were flawless, I think Paul deserves some kudos for that, and hopefully that'll continue going forward.
Good,
You did a good job.
good.
And
Good.
there is just one item on the consent agenda.
Yes, the AP, is that correct?
That's correct. It's the manifest for AP for January 6, 2021. That's number 15240 for $2,105,163.62. This includes a $2 million payment to the school district.
Yes, thank you, Walter.
We didn't buy a new fleet of trucks or anything like that.
Yeah. It didn't buy a new Mustang or anything, huh?
No,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Okay, any other points or discussion on the consent agenda? If not, do I have a motion to approve it?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry, I'm still in a different mode from another meeting. Roll call vote on that. Beth,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
Pam,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
and Hal is yes. Okay, Walter, you're up with your reports and any specific items you need action from us on.
Okay, it's rather short because only a week between meetings this particular week. So, as mentioned, Cheryl Eastman did assume the position as of Monday, yesterday, January 4th, as the new finance director. And we're continuing, but not with a lot of success, soliciting for applications for the laborer 2 position in the DPW. The follow-up from last week's meeting on the 2020 second issue of property tax payments. I reported last week that the collections were approximately 93.5% as of 12/28/20. And question about the variance over last year, there's really only about a 2% variance on the uncollected, being slightly higher in 2020 over 2019. Record preservations, the profile company will be picking up the 2 volumes to be preserved actually tomorrow to begin work on preserving those documents as approved by the board last week. Once again, a change in the ambulance delivery date. It's now coming tomorrow. And so we'll be receiving that, and all the financing and payment arrangements have been completed. And I think what I've seen picture-wise, it looks like an excellent vehicle that'll be serving the community for a number of years to come. Fire command vehicle. This is scheduled for delivery from the dealer later on this week. And then, as the chief mentioned last week, it'll take a few weeks to get it into service for lettering and putting the cap on it and the other things that go into that. But we did cut the check out of the last AP run for the 2020 fiscal year. So that's been taken out of the fire department budget. A planning and logistics meeting for the deliberative session actually was held today, which I participated in along with board members Hal and Matt, and the moderator and a representative from the superintendent's office, and along with Bob Young, the EMD. And at this point in time, just to summarize, the meeting was fruitful. We're still looking at going forward with an in-person deliberative session, subject to what may come out very soon in some legislative changes, and also what may come out in the moderator's workshop that's going to take place this Saturday. So the committee's going to meet, or the group's going to meet again next Monday to follow up on the new information. And at this point in time, we're planning on the in-person session.
Pam?
Is there a date? Is there a projected date?
It's still January 30th.
Gotcha.
At beginning at 9 a.m.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Matt or Al has anything else to add to that topic?
No, I just, as a maybe minor point, I was attending, not just as a select board rep, but also as the school moderator, because the school's going to face the same situation. And that was the reason we involved them, at least in part, because we have to figure it out for both government entities.
And a couple of meeting notes. Again, the regular board meeting tonight and the next one will be on January 19th. The budget hearing is scheduled still for the 13th via Zoom, beginning at 6:30. A deliberative session, January 30th at 9 a.m. as mentioned. More than likely, there'll be a need for a short board meeting prior to the budget committee meeting on the 13th to vote on some of the outstanding warrant articles that haven't been voted on as of yet, pending information from the treasurer and the trustees of trust funds. So, and also the any other outstanding warrant articles that haven't been settled. There's a couple of those as well.
Okay, let's go over those meeting dates again, because I just was glancing at my calendar and I think I got it screwed up. So
I had it different as well.
yeah, so let's just start with next week. We aren't meeting on Tuesday, but you think we will need to cover some items just prior to the budget committee meeting. So we will meet on Wednesday then. Is that correct, Walter?
Yes, and the intent would be just for a special meeting, just for action on those outstanding warrants.
Right. And then I did not have anything until the 26th. And you said something about the 19th. Did we change those dates, or is my calendar wrong, or?
I may have had it noted wrong. I thought we were going to meet the following week, but seeing it, it's really up to you. Obviously, we can make that adjustment.
Well, how's the board feel about that? The one thing I think we do need to discuss at some point in time is how we how we handle the questions and the deliberative session itself. So the 29th might be a little bit short to do that if we want to write things up or prepare, do some specific preparations. Any thoughts on that? Anybody?
I'll just say that I also showed the 26th with nothing on the 19th, so I did schedule a committee meeting on the 19th,
Okay.
which, you know, if we need to, we can reschedule, but I've bumped those guys a lot.
Yeah.
I prefer not to.
Okay, so anybody else feel, Pam?
Yeah, quick question. 19th, are we not meeting the 12th before the budget meeting?
No, we are not. We are meeting on the 13th before the budget meeting. So the budget meeting is at 7. We're going to meet at 6.
We're meeting at 6. Budget meeting is at 6:30.
Budget committee meeting is at 6:30.
Oh, okay, sorry.
And the hearing is at 7.
Oh, right.
5:30?
Yeah, maybe we better push that back to 5:30, Beth.
Yeah.
Just in case, it'd be not good to run out of time. I mean, we may finish in a half hour. My expectation is we would, but if for some reason we can't,
Yeah.
okay. So let's go through the dates again. So not the 12th, Tuesday the 12th, but Wednesday the 13th at 5:30. And you know what? If we're meeting at 5:30 and have an hour, I think that's enough time to have a reasonable discussion on anything else that we want to do in terms of preparation for the deliberative session. So let's just leave it at that. And if we do that, then I would feel comfortable waiting until the 26th to meet them. I don't, let's not go nuts over this stuff. We got good support. Let's just knock it off.
26.
Yeah. So So then it would be Wednesday the 3rd, so the next meeting will be Wednesday the 13th, and then Tuesday the 26th.
Very good, thank you.
And the 13th will be at 5:30, the 26th will be at 6 PM, our normal start time. And thank you, Beth, for mentioning that. I think that was good thinking. Okay, anything else, Walter?
Yeah, I do have a couple of late minute arrivals. There was a request from the Conservation Commission to appoint a new member, Denise Mattern.
Oh.
And evidently this got lost in the shuffle. It came in earlier in December, and I apologize. I'm not quite sure what happened, but
Yeah, she was asking about that.
yeah, the letter I have from Linda Smith states that the commission unanimously approved the motion to recommend Ms. Mattern to serve on the commission as a full member beginning at the January meeting for a term to include the months of January through March of 2023. The commission believes that she'll be an asset to the commission and respectfully request you consider her appointment.
Can I make a motion now?
Sure.
I'd like to make a motion to appoint Grace Matern to the Conservation Commission for a term of 2021 or currently until 2023.
Thank you, and we have a second by Tim. Discussion?
Thank you, Grace, for volunteering.
Yeah, thank you. She's on the Bear Paw Board, and I think she would be a good addition.
Yep.
Okay,
Very nice lady. Very nice lady.
so we'll do a roll call vote on that. Tim?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes?
Matt?
Yes.
Beth?
Yes.
And Hal is yes. Okay, what else, Walter?
Another request from the land use, and I'm not familiar with the subject, but I understand you will be. The Conservation Commission is an executive conservation easement holder on the land of Carl Wallman Trust.
Oh,
There was a proposed change made to the easement language, which was disclosed at a BOS meeting a year ago. The board agreed to accept the condition, except with the condition that it be reviewed by town council at the owner's expense, and that has been completed. They would like to go ahead and amend the document and have the board authorize the chair to sign it when it's received at town hall.
okay, so just to refresh folks' memories, Carl put his land into conservation easement, and then there was a change to include a more focused agricultural component, and also make provisions so that if the land with the easement were to sell, it would continue to go into farmland, and there'd be sufficient funds to do that. So that was what they put together, and we did review that previously, but we did ask for legal review. Pam?
May I have
Oh,
Carl's last
Wallman.
name, please?
Yes,
Wallman.
Wallman.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, he
Thank you.
passed away this, I forget, 6 months ago. This was one of the last action items he actually took, so it's a little bit bittersweet that we're getting it done now. But yeah, he's conserved a lot of land. He's also been instrumental in a lot of the other conservation in the area, especially south of Route 4.
So this is a good thing.
Oh yeah, he did some nice work. Yeah, and this was just another example of, there was an easement on the land, and he made additional provisions to make sure it really stayed, vibrant. So it
Agricultural, yeah.
was very forward thinking. Walter, anything else?
Do we need to approve that?
Oh, see, I'm sorry. Yes. So do I have a motion to authorize me to sign all the appropriate documents for that Wallman easement change?
So moved.
Second.
I'll let Matt do it.
Okay, so we had a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just out of curiosity, once that change is recorded, that then needs to get recorded at the registry, right? Do we do that on our end?
No, they do all, they
Do
take
that,
care
all
of it.
that on their end? Okay.
Yeah, this one is actually being handled via Southeast Land Trust.
Right, that's right.
Oh.
Yep.
It's a more complicated than what Bear Paw would be able to handle.
Awesome.
So, any further discussion? If not, Pam, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
Tim,
Yes.
and Hal is yes. Okay, Walter?
And the other final item has to do with the Public Safety Building Committee. Beth brought up the topic of having a video prepared for showing to the community about the existing conditions at both the police and fire stations. And we've been working with one of the committee members to secure a videographer, for lack of a better word, to do a 2 to 4 minute production. And we've been able to secure that for a fee of $300, which was kind of the bottom end of the range. So we're prepared to move forward with that. And I believe the board was in favor of having that production completed.
So were we able to get Ken Burns or not?
Kent is not available.
Oh, yeah, just our luck. Okay.
$300 you hell for $300 you get road burns.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry for digressing. Do we need approval to do that, or Walter, that's under your purview, so you're just telling us?
Just an update.
Okay.
I don't know if Beth has anything else to add.
I spoke to Elaine, and she is reaching out to both the fire chiefs, and someone, I forget the name, someone working from Primex will be like the interviewer with the fire chief and the police chief.
Oh,
So
Elaine? Is it Elaine or somebody else from Primex?
Elaine found someone else from Primex.
Oh, okay.
I could read the whole thing, and
Yeah, just,
Dave with them.
it's the risk management, Dave.
oh, okay.
Dave. So yeah, it's very exciting. So hopefully it's going to be great. She found, she knows this videographer, very professional. We're getting a really good deal for $300. So it's
Good.
just to let people know, the condition of the building. So hopefully,
I think that's good approach.
she did ask if we would be able to put it on the town website. She's going to put it, blast it on Facebook and that kind of stuff too. So
How does the board feel? I mean, again, I think that's something Walter can just take care of if the board's in general agreement. Or do we need, Walter, we don't need a vote, do we?
No, it's informational, no different.
Yeah.
than the guide.
Yeah, so
great.
I
Thank
think it
you.
just goes directly to Walter and he'll handle it for us.
Just to point out that this will be done as the voter guide is done. It would be, basically a fact finding and won't be promoting one position or another.
Right.
They simply, presenting the facts, because that would be contrary to the law, using public funds to produce it.
Right. Good point.
Thank you.
Okay, well, I think that was good idea. So thank you for pushing that through, Beth.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
Yeah.
You're welcome. See,
Do we
I
have-
work.
Yeah.
I'm not Tim.
Oh,
Well, hey, we said no personal attacks during the meetings. Come on. Yeah, you want to step outside, that's a different story. Okay, moving on. Walter, anything else for you?
That's all I know.
Okay, then I'd like to take up the topic that I brought up last week, which is elderly exemptions. As I mentioned, we had actually several people that were not paying taxes due to the elderly exemptions. And then as a result of the revaluation and reassessment, they ended up having to pay taxes and hadn't So that prompted me to think, maybe we should at least consider changing what our limits are in terms of the elderly exemption. At the last meeting, when I brought this up, I think Beth made a good point, and that is, well, what's the rest of the information to go with that? Not just throwing it out there. And Walter did an analysis, and that's in the packet. So I'm going to ask Walter to just go over that summary sheet so we understand what you did. And I think one of the questions that came up last time, Walter, was how, I see some of the numbers there, but we're going to want to know, how does it impact the rest of the taxpayers if we make some of these changes that you're proposing? So if you could just walk us through that sheet, I'd appreciate it. And then we'll get the discussion started.
Okay, so first of all, just to explain that the.
Can I ask, what sheet are we looking at? I have all my sheets. Which one?
Okay, I'm going to find it, and I'll tell you what page it's on.
There's several, that's why I'm asking. There's like 4.
Yes, what I want you to focus on is the one that says Town of Northwood Elderly Exemption Increase Analysis dated 12/30/2020. It's a landscaped.
This one?
Oh, that looks like it, Beth. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Yeah, so Walter has several different numbers on there, one of which is the current exemptions, and then he does, I think as Matt or Pam suggested, a couple different proposed increases so we can start seeing what the impacts are. But walk us through what the numbers mean, Walter, before we get too far.
Okay, as I said, just a couple of footnotes. First of all, so the age ranges are set in statute. So those aren't determined by the select board or the local governing legislative body. So the age range of 65 to 74, we currently have an exemption of $87,400. If you're within the age range of 75 to 79 years of age, then you would get a $125,000 exemption. And then if you are 80 or over, you would get $162,500. Now those dollars represent reductions in valuation. And
Hold on a second, Walter. Pam, did you have a question? Oh, you're muted. Pam, did you have a question?
Pam, we can't
Pam,
hear
you're muted.
you.
Did you have a question?
Thank you, Walter. You just said it. It comes off the top of evaluation.
okay,
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah.
no problem. The other thing I want to point out too is that there are income limits and there's asset limits that are also set in state statute that the town or the legislative body doesn't have the opportunity to adjust. So just because you're between the age of 65 and 74 doesn't mean you automatically get this exemption. You can have a income of $35,000 annually as a single person, or $40,000 annually as a married person. Your assets cannot exceed $50,000, excluding your homestead. And that doesn't matter whether you're single or married.
Can you say that one more time? Assets can't exceed what?
$50,000.
I think some of that is in some of the lower documentation, is it not, Walter?
It is. It's in the next couple of pages.
Yeah, on the MS1 page.
But I wanted the public to be aware of that, so.
Yeah, yep. No, it's good. Just keep going through verbally, please.
Okay, so right now, as of the MS1 for 2020, we have 12 individuals that qualify for the exemption ages 65 to 74. We have 14 people that qualify for 75 to 79, and we have 28 people that qualify for the maximum at 80 and over. And so the valuation totals for each one of those categories are shown on the spreadsheet. 1,048,800, 1,750,000 for 79 to 75, and 4,550,000. That's the cumulative amount for that particular age group. So right now, under our current guidelines, we are exempting $7,348,800 off of our $680 million assessed valuation, roughly assessed valuation.
Walter,
Yes.
I have a question. So we are, or we potentially could be?
So that's our current,
Okay,
those are our current exemptions.
thank you.
Yeah, so that's what we're doing now. And again, so that gets redistributed amongst the other taxpayers, which is, I think, what Pam's question was last week. With these exemptions, that's how much the other taxpayers kind of support the elderly under this program.
Yeah, so I'm going to put an editorial comment in here, or a point. If you take a look at the 7 million, that compares to, in round numbers, about 700 million in total valuation that we have in the town. It's like 684 something, and I don't know whether that includes or excludes the telephone poles or not, but in round numbers, we're at 700,000. 700 million in total valuation. So this 7 million is about 1%, meaning that we are paying, essentially 1% more in taxes, if we are paying taxes, to support the elderly who are in the situations as defined in those categories. Does everybody, Matt, you go first and then Pam.
Yeah, and I just wanted to clarify, I think it's really easy to look at numbers like this and start thinking, oh my God, this is a lot of money. But if we then distill that $7 million valuation, 7 and change, down to actual tax burden, we're more in the neighborhood of $50,000 to $60,000 that's being spread across the tax base, right? I mean, so I just want to, before people start looking at those numbers and going, oh my God.
7 million in property valuation, which means that the average house is right around that $160,000 mark. It's not like, you've got a lot of folks in some expensive houses there. Pam, you had a question? Yep, unmute yourself. Still not seeing you unmuted.
Face, but there we go. I hit Walter's face and nothing happens. I don't know. So essentially, when you give an exemption, it's not that quantity of taxation is not collected. It's that quantity of taxation is spread out, and other taxpayers assume that very small burden, because this 7 million is assessed value. It is not the taxation amount.
Right. That's what I was trying to explain. At 7 million, it's about 1%.
1%. So those of us younger than age 65, or does this include disabled?
Those are separate exemptions. This is elderly and income, as Walter said. And the income limits are pretty strict.
So again, it's important that we understand that the tax is collected, even though it is exempted from our elderly, but that we still have an obligation to our elders, and that little bit of tax burden, 1%, is spread about over the rest of the taxpayers. So I think that's important to state.
Yeah. So and so just to put a finer point on that, Pam, if you take a look then, and I'm just going to sort of jump ahead, Walter, because I think it's time to explain this. The first group he has is the 7 million. That's the current amount that would be exempt. If then, as Walter proposed, we increase it by 20%, the exemptions by 20%, well then the total exempt valuation goes up to 8.8 million. So the increase in a value in terms of what we're exempting is $1.5 million. And so, Matt, if you would just take that $1.5 million, and multiply that by the tax rate. So that's, basically 1,500,000 times $17. We're looking at basically 25,000, 25,000, right?
Yep.
So that's order of magnitude. If we did a 20%, was that your first one there, Walter? Yeah. If we did a 20% increase in exemptions, out of the approximately $10+ million we raise, 25,000 of that would be shared amongst the non-exempt people. So it'd be less than 0.1% change in somebody's taxes is really what it comes down to. Does everybody understand the numbers, or are we? I mean, I realize that it's kind of hard, and we're talking a couple different concepts here, but the $7 million exemption already exists. So really up for discussion is if the board wants to consider increasing that exemption, and then if we do, how much by. And so Walter did the first increment, which was 20%, which, given that the assessed values went up 40%, we're sort of taking the people in a half-step increment back to where they, quote, would have been, 5 years ago, relatively speaking. Yeah, Beth, go ahead.
So we would have to really assume the 40% increase to get them back to where they really would be.
Yes. And, this is something that the board can do. We don't have to take all the steps, right away. We can go up part way. We don't have to do anything. I raised the issue just because I was concerned that, we might be basically falling behind in terms of keeping people that are right at the edge here protected. That's really what it comes down to.
So what would the increase be for the average, the other households if we did the 40%?
Well, we'd have to go down and take a look further down. I think, Walter, where's your 40%? That's the very last amount. So that 40% is the last group of calculations there. And it shows the delta in terms of the assessed value increasing by, in round numbers, $3 million. So that's $3 million out of $700 million. So that's 3 enter 700 divide. That would
Roughly
change,
50,000.
yeah, and it would change everybody's tax bill by about 0.5%, approximately 0.5%. So if you're paying $5,000 a year in taxes, 1% is $50, so 0.5% is $25. Is that right?
0.5% on top of the 1% we already have. So it's 1.5%.
Yeah, yes, absolutely right. The top number, I was only talking about the delta, Beth, the $3 million. Yeah, and so in other words, what's the change from where we're at is what I was discussing. Yep. Matt.
So I just gonna throw my 2 cents out there that I think jumping to 40 right now is not the best way to handle this. First, let's see what the market does over some extended time period. If our home values were to plummet over the next 5 years, let's hope they don't, but we don't want to have to go back and necessarily be constantly fixing this. Something around that 30% increase puts us, if you look at the next page in the packet where we're benchmarked against other communities in the state. A 30% puts us, I think, at a very reasonable place in terms of not only our local benchmarks, but statewide among some of those communities that are listed. So, and then if a couple of years from now, we're looking and we think that we underestimated what we should have been doing, then we revisit it.
Yeah.
Additionally, there's this idea that, yes, we went up by 42% town-wide, but keep in mind that there are, certain areas, neighborhoods, places with a lake view, whatever, that jumped substantially more and others that substantially less. I don't know that we need to do that full 40% right now. I'd like to propose 30.
Yeah, I guess if we're talking about what to propose, I was sort of thinking along those same lines, and I frankly speaking, I was kind of happy Walter did the 20% because I was thinking, let's sort of halfway there, and as you said, sort of see how things stick. We can always come back to this next year. Beth, go ahead.
So how is this decided upon? If I was 76 years old, do I apply for this one time, or is it something I apply for every year?
Walter?
You have to submit an application every year.
Because income.
Because income could fluctuate or
You have to.
yeah,
Yeah.
all right, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So if somebody, gets back on their feet, has income coming back in, they don't keep getting the exemption automatically. That's why it has to be verified on a regular basis. Yeah. Walter, you want to say something?
I just wanted to note a couple of clarifiers. Number one, so this is just a snapshot in time. Those are our numbers for 2020. Next year, they could change based on, new people coming into the qualifying group age-wise, people moving up in qualifying groups age-wise, and so forth. So I wanted to point that out. The other thing I wanted to point out too is that if you look at the first page of the MS1 that I gave you, there's on the right-hand column under the elderly exemption, you see the maximum, which is what I calculated, and then you see the actual for 2020. So if somebody has a home, for instance, that's in the 75 to 79 age category that's worth $110,000, then they would receive no tax bill, and that extra $15,000 would be basically left on the table, so to speak. But it wouldn't be a reduction to the assessed valuation. So I just wanted to point that out so that people understand that there is a difference and that this is a snapshot in time.
Yeah. Beth?
So now I'm confused. You just said that they have to apply every year. So wouldn't they receive a tax bill and then apply to have it?
Well, they apply before the tax year begins. Okay, so they have to apply before. I think it's March 15th. I'm not positive. It's either the March 1st or March 15th. So they would apply. They would be qualified before the first tax bill comes out.
Okay.
Tim, you've been a little quiet. Did you want to weigh in on this at all?
I'm kind of leaning with Matt. I said the 40 would be a big bump. But like I said, we always can address this year after year. But if we do the 30, I think we'll be in a comfortable position to assess how the next year or two is going to be. So
okay,
I'm happy with the 30.
I'll just weigh in. I think 30 might even actually be a little bit much. I certainly wouldn't vote against 30, but I'd be more comfortable at 20. So that's where I'm coming from. Pam, did you want to weigh in on that discussion?
Well, there's a portion that wants to agree with Matt on the 30%, in that we don't know what's going to happen with property values next year. This year has been extenuating circumstances with COVID and people wanting to get out of cities and coming to the rural areas. So that's pushed us up, I think. But I don't think that I would go as stringent as 20%. And 25 just seems kind of a wet noodle approach. So I probably am more apt to side with a 30% approach.
Okay, and Beth, how do you feel? We might as well get some idea and see what motion is going to have a chance here.
I mean, I'm looking at the other paper, page 32, and I mean,
Hold on a second, Beth. Let me find that one.
it's
You're
the
looking.
one
Oh,
that
30.
has all the other towns, this one.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
And I'm looking, and so right now we are, I'm just saying like 87. It's, I mean, look, you get, most of them are 100, 150, then you get
Yeah.
85. Like most of them are 125. I mean, we have some that are 200. I mean, obviously, you know, richer towns have the 200,000.
Yeah. New market. Yeah.
I mean, we have elderly that can't afford their medicine,
Yeah.
you know, groceries and heat, and I don't know. I would vote for the 40, but I mean, I'm okay with the 30. I think that these are people, you know, they don't have any children in school. They, you know,
Yeah.
they're paying a lot of money. If we can help someone stay in their home and buy their medicine,
Yeah.
I mean, as long as they're applying every year,
Yeah. Yeah.
not many 80-year-olds are gonna go get a job.
Yeah. Okay, well, it sounds to me like we're sort of gelling around the 30%. People will at least vote for it if not directly support it. So does somebody want to make a motion to change the elderly exemption by 30% as Walter proposed?
So
Yep, there you go, Beth. Second.
Walter?
This has to go to the voters, so you're going to recommend this be placed on the warrant.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, you know, I forgot that minor point, I guess. Okay, so that's going to be, you can tell from the discussion here then, Walter, we're going to have to really provide some documentation, because if it took us this long to talk through it, when we can directly ask questions and stuff, we'll have to have some good documentation, probably for the deliberative session. And, you know, if it's a warrant article, then it could get adjusted there, correct?
Yes.
it's
Okay.
deliberative.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Just this data here showing that most of the surrounding towns are, you know,
They're
definitely
higher.
far above us.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So do we have a motion to create a warrant for a 30% increase in the elderly exemptions across the board?
Hang on, we need to clear the motion that's on the table already. So
Yeah.
I'll retract my second.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
My motion is, to put it on the warrant.
Yes. Yeah, of course. We knew what you meant. Okay. Walter, thanks for that
I'm
catch.
happy to second that.
Okay. So, I guess, Walter, we'll vote on that and you'll write it up and put it on?
Yes, I will.
Okay, so we'll do a roll call vote on that. This is to have a warrant article to propose a 30% increase in the elderly exemption. Matt, how do you vote?
Yes, I vote yes.
Beth?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes,
And Hal is yes. Okay, so that's going to go to the voters at 30%. At least it's out there. They can, you know, start thinking about that, and we'll provide some documents to support that.
Real
Matt.
quick, just as a matter of transparency for those watching or listening, I zipped numbers to the rest of the board through the chat with the redistributed tax burden based on this snapshot. So the 20% redistributed number is 24,990, 25 was 31,229, and 30% was 37,485. I just wanted to make sure that if folks couldn't see those numbers, that they still had access to what we've got access to.
Okay, good. And Walter, I guess we can post these documents on the website as part of the meeting minutes so folks have them too. Okay.
thank you,
Well,
Walter, for the work. Nice job.
yeah, I thought that was a nice analysis. Thank
So
you.
what is that, like a 1 1/3% increase?
No,
If it's a 1%,
the 1%'s already there essentially.
right? So
we're
what was the 30%? Like another 1/3%?
a third of a percent. Yeah, so a third of a percent changing the taxes is really what it would come down to.
Thank you.
Okay, that was a good discussion, but yeah, we're going to have to prep for the deliberative session so folks understand this. Okay, I'm going to move on then. Walter, do you want to go over the warrant article for road improvements and the expendable trust?
Yes. So after a discussion last week, it was suggested that we make add some additional language. So I think I touched on the points that were discussed. So as it was written, to see if the town will vote to establish a road improvements expendable trust for improvements to the town roads, including but not limited to paving, installing and replacing culverts, ditching, grading, and full reconstruction, etc. And to raise and appropriate the sum of $150,000 to be placed in said fund, and further to name the Board of Selectmen as agents to expend from said fund without further authorization. Said amount to come from the unassigned fund balance as of December 31, 2020. Said funds will be used for road improvement projects as outlined in the town's road surface management plan and for emergency road repairs as they arise.
Okay, so I think that just to catch Beth up, at the last meeting, I brought this up because I'm nervous about how much money we're potentially going to spend on the roads and then never be able to catch back up. There is approximately $500,000 left in the kitty at this point in time. That includes the encumbrances of everything that we approved, and also includes, like, for example, the check that we cut for the fire command vehicle and stuff. So it looks to me like we're in pretty good shape financially. Even if we did have another order of magnitude $150,000 in expenses that come in, as often do towards the end of the year and into the next year, that would still leave us with approximately $350,000. And I'm suggesting that we ask the voters to put that into a road fund so that we don't fall behind. I'm really just worried about that. We have the money. We're not saying we're going to spend it. We have to wait and see what the road plan shows, what emergencies come up. But I'm worried about not having the money if we need it, and then just it's a game of catch up that's very difficult to play. So that was the impetus for this. There was some good comments about it at the last meeting, and we wanted to clarify that this is not a slush fund. This is for doing stuff per the plan or true emergencies, not just some when. And I think Walter's added that wording. Does anybody have any questions or comments on the wording, or are we all set on this? Matt?
So first, this does a great job of addressing the concerns I had last week. So kudos in that regard. My only edit would be to remove the comma after installing, so that installing and replacing culverts is one issue.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, any other thoughts or comments on this? Okay, if not, then Walter, what do we need to do to include this on the list of warrant articles?
You need to vote.
We need to vote to do it. Okay, do I have a motion to do so as written now? Or as written with the amendment that Matt suggested, excuse me.
I'll move to approve the warrant article as amended.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a second on that? Second by Tim. Further discussion? If not, we'll do a roll call vote. Beth, how do you feel?
Yes.
Tim?
Yes.
Pam?
Yes.
Matt?
Yes.
And Hal is yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, we touched on it briefly, the expenditure and encumbrance update. Walter, do you want to just walk us through any other salient details?
Just wanted to also talk about the other, the cable franchise warrant article.
I think that's coming up next after the expenditure report.
Oh, put that order together. That wasn't good planning on my part. No, I think the, you should have received the updated financial expenditure report yesterday after we put in this past week's AP. And as you mentioned, it did include, payment for the fire command vehicle. Yeah, I think for the most part, we're wrapping up all our fairly large expenditures. Everything else now is just going to be mainly operational. Our next payroll will be, partially accrued into 2020 and partially attributed to 2021, so that we won't have a full payroll coming in there. So I don't think we have anything that is going to change our position dramatically at this point in time. And I think I'll find out tomorrow because we're meeting with Greg tomorrow, but I believe he's made all the adjustments that needed to be made, both in and out of the expenditure report. So I think it's reflecting our position accurately at this point.
Yeah, you had mentioned a couple edits that we needed to make the last time. Yeah.
Question on
Any
the DPW pickup truck. Was that coming out of this year?
Yes, we encumbered that.
It's
Okay, thank you.
it's in the encumbrances.
Thank you.
Did we have the encumbrance list in the packet, Walter? I forget. I know I saw it, but it was like $111,000 when I saw it.
I didn't do an updated one for this packet because we had to ship it out last week. So, and I hadn't done the AP as of yet. So that'll be reduced by, the 32,400 for the fire vehicle.
Right. So that's why it was 111,000. We're down about 30. So it's 78,000. Yeah. So that all makes sense.
Good.
Other questions? Okay. If not, then let's move on to the cable franchise wording change or a use change. Does anybody have any questions or comments regarding the edits that Walter made on that?
Can I just say one thing, Hal?
Yes, go ahead.
I apologize to Matt because I didn't add his version onto the packet memo that I included, but if you did get the latest warrant articles that I sent out this afternoon, it is on the draft warrant, but
Yes.
apologize, Matt.
Okay, so we need to go to the Word document.
So if you go to your email, I sent you out an updated version of the warrant.
And
Yeah,
by all means, if people prefer Walter's wording to mine, that's not going to hurt my feelings.
doesn't matter to me either. But I think what Walter's saying is he sent out that email, which, does indicate there's some edits and changes. So we could go by that wording because it's, let me just try to find it here.
Got it.
On page 4, Article 23.
That's correct.
I got to
Thank
open
you,
it up.
Thank you, Tim.
Does the wording, Matt, does the wording look better to you in that one?
But between the two, I think we accomplish our aims either way.
Purpose of the cable franchise.
Well, I'm going to suggest we go with the one that's in the Word document because that's the one I think Walter's working with, right?
There's two in the Word document right now is the problem. There's
Oh, I'm sorry.
Read it out loud. Could we read it out loud, please, so that our listeners can hear what we're talking about?
Well, we got two. Let's read option number 2. To see if the town will vote to update the purposes of the Cable Franchise General Trust Fund established in 2000 to define broadcast as including any electronic mass communication, including but not limited to email communications, electronic newsletters, electronic signage, cable television, and web-based communications, such as web hosting and streaming video. The current use of the funds reads as creating, maintaining, and upgrading a broadcast system. So that's the one I think.
Where's that one coming from?
I wrote that.
I object to electronic signage.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay. Yeah, so you don't want to include like an like a sign out front and stuff like that. Is that correct, Pam?
I'm feeling like, our town and Route 4 electronic signage, while it is eye-catching and you are able to blip things out there, I do see it as a vehicle distraction. And I also see it as not in keeping with our town as far as, are trying to be rural and all. And sometimes electronic signage gets to be a little Las Vegas-y.
Okay, but do you want to kill that idea up front without other folks having a chance to weigh in, or do you just want to say that it could include? It doesn't
Just for
have
dialogue.
to.
For dialogue.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not sure that people are happy with signage.
Yeah.
I'm okay with the sign as long as it's not a cowboy kicking too, like Vegas.
Now, see, I could go for the cowboy kicking, but no. I'm a little hesitant on electronic signage as being part of this expenditure.
Well, no, that's not as part of the expenditure. It's a potential use.
Potential use.
Yeah, Matt.
Yeah, that's what I want to say. So it would still need to be voted on by the board as an expenditure if anybody were to suggest it, right? So to me, it fits the definition of that sort of mass communication idea, which is, to me, why I think it makes sense to include it. It doesn't automatically mean that somebody can just say, hey, we're going to use that money for a new sign. It would still need to go through that, no different than spending tens of thousands of dollars on anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that's probably at the deliberative that would be something that would be raised. And if you have a defensive position for it, I think that's good.
Yeah, and we have to think about it. I mean, if that could be a hot button and maybe affect whether this passes or not, then we might want to consider changing that. I think maybe the deliberative session is a good place to have that discussion. So I guess now that I've thought about it, I'm thinking it might be better to at least leave it in initially, so at least the subject comes up, and then we can get that feedback.
Thank you.
Are people comfortable with that approach, or Pam, would you prefer that we do not include it?
I do see it as hot button only because I reacted.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying I'm indicative of the general public, but certainly there are some that are finding signage to be an expenditure that they're not crazy about, especially electronic signage.
When did Matt send this out? Because I don't check my emails and everything. I can't find it. Did we all get it?
It's
Yeah,
in
version?
Walter sent it out today at 2:07, and it just says draft warrant.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and I printed them all off, and whatever Hal just wrote, I have no clue what he just read.
Yeah, it's one of the few emails from this afternoon from Walter. It's from Walter.
Yeah, Walter sent it at.
Let me clarify.
Yeah, and I printed out the red and the yellow and all the corrections, but whatever you just read, Hal, is.
Oops, go ahead, Walter.
Tim, there's two 23s. You've got 23, and then you got 23 option 2. I think that's where the confusion is on page 4. And that's what Hal read.
Okay. My fault.
No, we need to be clear on this, and
When you said option 2, I was going back to the stuff that was in the minutes. Okay.
it wasn't. Yeah, that's my fault. I wasn't clear. My apologies. And then we got into the discussion before we got you straightened out. So I apologize. Matt,
So my last thought here is that it may make sense to take out the signage wording, just to make it, we've got bigger fish to fry, as it were, in terms of our communication in the short term. I think a few years down the road, it's going to be a different board. It's going to be different priorities.
yeah.
And it's written, we've got that including but not limited to wording. So if people want to, die on that hill, they can do that at that point, whoever's on the board. Or if a sign is deemed necessary, then it can be budgeted somewhere else. So it may make more sense to pull that out.
Yeah, I actually, based on what Pam said and now that, I am kind of leaning that way.
I am too.
It doesn't necessarily stop us, like you said, from figuring out some other way of doing it or asking specifically in another year if the voters are happy doing that or not. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Walter, even with this change, could we still not go back to the voters and say, we would like to, let's say the sign costs $20,000. We're proposing to spend $20,000 on a sign, funding to come from the cable franchise trust. And this includes whatever appropriate wording changes to allow us to do that. I think
you could certainly do that. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. I think that, I think I'd make it an agenda item at a regular board meeting to get people's opinion if in fact there's a proposal to buy one, but I don't think I would lend it to the debate of a town meeting or a deliberative session. I think my general thoughts about creating warrant articles is to meet the requirements of the law, but keep them as squishy as possible so that you have the ability to maneuver within the language to do the things that you think are in the best interests of the town, in this particular case, in communicating. So that's why mine's a little less descriptive and a little less specific. I don't reference electronic this, electronic that, because not necessarily everybody is electronic, whether it be in communications or whatever. So, but it doesn't preclude it because it's, you are talking about signage, which opens it up to all different types. You're talking about newsletters, which could be, paper printed as well as electronic. So that's been my MO, so to speak, as far as creating warrant articles that are definitive enough so that it takes out any questioning about whether you could do it or not. But it doesn't box you into, it's like in the old days, they used to look to buy, very specific trucks, on warrant articles, like a, 2021 Ford F-250. And then, next thing you know, you can get a better deal on a Dodge, but you can't buy it because it's too descriptive.
Okay, I'm with you. Yeah.
That's my thoughts on it.
Beth, you wanted to weigh in.
I think we desperately need a sign. I think something similar to what the library has. It's, classic. It's
Tasteful.
It's probably more affordable. I would love to see the sign in it, but whether it's electronic or not, we need a sign just so people can see what's happening. We don't have a newspaper anymore. We need a way to get information out.
Yeah. Okay,
so
well,
whether it's electronic or, I just don't want a piece of cardboard, something nice.
Yeah. Okay, so we're really trying to debate between two approaches here, the general approach which Walter espouses versus the more specific approach which Matt wrote up. Which way do we want to go?
So can we read that Walter's version
Sure,
into the
sure.
record or whatever?
Yeah, to see if the town will vote to expand the purposes of the, let me start over. To see if the town will vote to expand the purposes of the cable franchise general trust fund established in 2000 from creating, maintaining, and upgrading a broadcast system to include paying costs for the improving, let's just say costs for improving the communications to town citizens by the select boards and committees and departments. Said improvements to include but not limited to email communications, message signing, newsletters, etc.
Should there be a comma like in there? Town boards, committees, and departments.
Yeah, we can work on that, but I think the real question is, do we go with the more general wording that Walter has, or do we go with the more specific wording in option 2? Let's finish that, and then we'll sort of edit the choice.
I see Walter's what he said, squishiness, that does have relevance because the comma, etc., does allow for whatever the future might bring. I mean, you never know, there might be a laser display. Something hasn't even been invented yet. But I do
don't
see
go off on me here, Pam. Stay focused.
No,
That's
but
not cardboard.
what I do see that having it looser for future technology is good. That's really good.
Well, it's not having it loose enough has put us in the position we're in now, because we didn't
Right.
envision.
Well, we were too tight on what it was before. So having it squishy, Matt's is well worded. No offense to Matt. Electronic signage. I mean, maybe if we went with the word electronic display, that might be less of a hot button than sign. I'm just seeing expenditure for signage as separate to the cable franchise fund. So I guess that would just be my objection. So I kind of like Walter's, although it's hard to read out loud.
Yes, yeah. Well, we could work on wordsmithing it. Beth, do you have a strong preference one way or the other?
I think we should have it so it will pass. So
Yeah.
we can,
Which was my thought here.
use
I'm
that
sorry, Donna.
fund, appropriately.
Okay. So which one do you think will pass? 1 or 2?
I think the looser one that doesn't say electronic.
Okay. And Tim,
My issue
yeah, go ahead, Matt. Sorry.
was just that's very close to what was on the ballot last year and failed.
Yeah,
It's almost the exact same article that was on the ballot and failed.
yeah.
Which is why I think we need to be clear in terms of what are we actually talking about.
That's where I'm sort of leaning too, because I did get feedback from some folks. I'm not saying everybody that voted against it said this, but some folks just said, we just didn't really know what you were talking about, and it didn't seem like there was much of a plan.
So what do we want? I would like to have a sign that's like similar to the library. That's not like really flashy. I would like to have electronic newsletters going out to people. I mean,
If the sign has a light bulb inside it, it's an electronic sign.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah,
I mean,
I think, well, like the
Oh,
library sign's
It's
not,
an electric
like-
sign.
correct.
the marquee one that goes by. I think it's people who don't want the whole marquee, the cowboy kicking,
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
Matt, how would you feel about changing the word signage to display?
I'd be comfortable taking it out, altogether, and just relying on the fact that we're using including but not limited language. So I don't think it's a deal breaker
Right.
by any means.
Right.
then that would
And like cable television, like some of them might say cable television. Many people don't have cable anymore. So I think web-based communication covers that also. So yeah, that would be, I guess, just those 2 words. I like Walter's squishiness, but I also like Matt's clarity, which still has, but not limited to, having that squishiness in there.
Well, the other option would be to go with Walters, which is squishy, and then in the voter's guide and everything else, explain some of those details. Because really, that's what I think, people just didn't have a good idea as to what we were talking about. And if we go with the less detailed one to give us the flexibility,
Right.
but in our voter guide, in our deliberative session discussion of this, go into those details so people have them and we've documented it, then maybe we've got both sides of this covered.
Right, and that's where Matt becomes more descriptive, which
Yeah.
would be used for the voter's guide.
Yeah, now that I said it, I'm kind of leaning that way. So how about we make them, would somebody be interested in making a motion to use Walter's version?
I will make that motion to use Article 23, first option, cable franchise general trust fund as written by Walter.
Okay, do we have a second on that? Okay, we have a second discussion. Hearing none, let's vote on it. Tim, how do you vote?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Pam,
Yes,
Matt,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
and Hal is yes. Okay, Walter, thank you for the advice. And I think we know how to play that now.
and
That's good.
Matt,
I'll-
Matt, thank you for writing that. And thank you for doing that. I do see
No
the
problem.
purpose and all. And I'm sorry to object to the two words there. So,
Well, I think this is the way we hone and improve things. I think it was a good discussion.
yeah, but I hate disagreeing with Matt because, he's such a nice guy.
Get over it
Dimples.
after a while.
That's all right, man. I got the dozen eggs.
I
Wow.
know.
Okay.
It's like
Okay.
I can disagree with Tim till the cows come home, but disagree with Matt, that's a big deal.
Okay. We're going to move on. So Walter did publish the board rules and code of ethics. Is there anything that people would like to bring up related to that, discuss, things we want to consider changing or anything like that? Or even questions? Anything on that at all at this point in time? And I say that now, it doesn't preclude us. Okay, it was in the pack. We can digest it a little bit more, and if something comes up next meeting, we can do it then.
If we're looking to update this document, then we should probably take a look at section 8, subparagraph A, and again, sort of go with the benefit of the more squishy language. So we list out the specific boards and committees and commissions which change fairly, not a lot, but there's existing committees that aren't on this list, and there's some that are on their way out. So
Yeah, more general is what you're saying.
it's just, yeah.
Yeah, and I guess I reviewed several documents. Is this the one that only has 3 select board members signing it?
This is old.
Yeah, so it might just need an update just in general. Yeah. But Tim, you're muted, please.
Yeah, I think Mr. Breyer, Alden Dale, and Mr. Holton was way
Yeah,
back
that's
in
right. I
the
saw
day.
Alden's name on there. I'm thinking, man, this goes back.
Alden, Bob, Holton, and Scott. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so how about we do this? It sounds like there are some points like that. I'm going to ask, rather than take up the time in the meeting here, how about folks return to Walter any specific edits or comments, because we have it in Word here, and then he can consolidate those for a document that then maybe we can approve at our next meeting. Are people comfortable with that?
And then we should actually sign it.
Yeah. Beth, you want to say something else?
I have a question. In seeing this, I wonder, like the school board, every month they go over, policies and stuff. And so that like on a 10-year cycle, you know what I mean? So, or a 5-year cycle. So we had talked about this before. We must have a binder full. Maybe we can think about going through that and doing, 1 or 2 a month, or, like had I don't know. we probably should think about that.
We shot down Hal's governance committee last year. so
Yeah, we did. but-
let's put it back on the table.
No. This is I don't know that you necessarily need governance. That's certainly one way to do it. But Beth, I'm going to be very open with you. I sort of held off pushing on this because I agree with you until Walter gets comfortably in the saddle. So I
Maybe
think,
like a spring project, like, come spring, like, pick 2 every month. And that way, eventually we'll get into a cycle that we don't have something dating from 1971 or 1954.
Yeah.
First
Yeah.
day Walter shows up with the roof down in the Mustang, we'll discuss it. That'd be springtime.
no, actually, I have some of them on my list for Cheryl. So, and Walter knows, I think most. I think we could actually push this sooner than spring. But how about Walter? I see there were all the eyeballs there. Okay. We don't want to wait forever, Walter.
The book is this thick.
Yeah. Well, she's just saying, start at the top and work your way down.
Well, but I'd like to prioritize myself.
Yeah.
So we hit the important ones first. And, again, I think it's a great idea. There's a couple of different ways to do it. You can, eat the elephant one bite at a time, or you can have a special work session, to focus just on that and maybe, hit the 12 most critical ones that should be reviewed and amended. There's a couple of different ways to do it that I've gone through and do it. I've done it before. So, but I think you're right. Trying to, Cheryl and I were just talking about that today because she's obviously trying to get up to speed on the finance policies. And she said, I found 3 purchasing policies so far. I said, yeah, me too. And some of them we have digitally, some of them we don't. But there is a binder that dates back to 98 through present. I'm just not sure who did it, so I don't know where present is, but I'm assuming that it might have been within the past couple of years, either by either Heather or maybe Joe. It's certainly something that I think is a great idea, and it's just a matter of deciding how you want to eat the elephant. Big bites or little bites.
Well, let's ask this question. What would be reasonable timing for you to tell us what you think the top priorities are and maybe have some idea as to a schedule?
Maybe that purchasing one is a priority one.
Well, we also don't forget the purchasing one relates in some cases to some of the audit findings and stuff. So, those probably are near the top of his list.
Actually, my recollection is I think the purchasing one is probably the most comprehensive and the most up to date. So I think it's just a matter of revisiting it and just things have been a little loose over the last year. So I think it's more about implementation than it is about recreating a new policy or that type of thing. But I would hope that after we get through the deliberative session, that there'll be an opportunity to start to look at some of these things. I'll have Cheryl's feedback after a month's time as well to look at the financial policies and that type of thing. So sometime after February 1st or something like that, we can start looking at that.
See, March is spring.
I said 6 months. Go for
February. I heard February.
And some of those financial policies, especially, I think, were something that we had initially tasked Greg with. As part of
couldn't get to
his
him.
service.
Couldn't
So,
get to him.
especially now that we've got our financial house in order here, we can
And
hopefully get to them.
I think
To be
Cheryl.
honest, you said 1998, and I was pretty impressed.
Yeah.
I was really thinking before I was born.
Okay, so after soon thereafter, after the deliberative session, Walter, we'll have a discussion on, priorities and timing.
Okay.
And Beth, I think that was a good point to bring up. We can't keep waiting on that. Okay, okay, so just a reminder then on the code of ethic and things like that, please submit your comments to Walter, let's say by the end of the week.
Walter, could you send us a clean copy of that document outside of the packet?
Oh, yeah, that makes sense, yeah. That way we can edit directly. Okay. And then I guess finally, the holiday schedule, there was, I think, a bit of confusion on that. On the last time we brought it up, people questioned about the before Christmas holiday, and I referred Walter to the personnel policy, which specifically lists out the 12 holidays that we offer. So I think we need to amend that schedule, Walter. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you can only have one Christmas Eve off, so unless we gave 2 days off for one, Christmas Eve is the actual holiday this year, so that was where the confusion came into play. You know, Christmas Day is a holiday as well, but it's being observed on the Friday, so therefore they had Christmas Eve off. My suggestion would be to include a floating holiday that can be taken, you know, anytime during the course of the calendar year, you know, with the approval of the individual supervisor.
As opposed to having Christmas Eve.
They already have Christmas Eve because it's a holiday. So they have Christmas Eve off this year only. It's only occurs this year. Christmas is on a Saturday this year. Okay. The town
Right,
observes
so,
when holidays
yeah,
fall.
your sheet says Christmas.
No, but what I'm saying is the personnel policy specifically lists Christmas Eve as a holiday.
I know, but what I'm saying is it is a holiday this year because Christmas falls on a Saturday and it's observed on a Friday, which happens to be Christmas Eve. So they have Christmas Eve off from work is a holiday, okay?
Gotcha.
Problem is it cuts out one holiday out of the 12 because of that.
Oh, now,
Gotcha.
okay. It took me a few tries to get this right. I'm sorry. I guess everybody else had it and I was missing it. Sorry.
Walter, you're suggesting for 2021 a floating holiday?
Just for 2021 or any other time it occurs where, you know, it's
Yeah, okay.
a redundancy.
I thought we had 11 holidays, not 12.
When I counted them, I counted 12. Walter, did you?
Now, I counted 12 too, and I think I mentioned to either you or Matt that Christmas Eve appeared within the last year, so I obviously didn't know how, but looking back on previous years, it never was a holiday.
No,
Oh,
it was Christmas Eve wasn't a holiday before because they used to get out at noontime and we did like a luncheon for them on Christmas Eve day. So that's something that someone just did.
So maybe that's why Christmas Eve is listed this year because the Christmas Day is Saturday.
But no, Christmas Day was Friday this year.
yeah.
And
So
last
Christmas Eve
year.
would've been
No,
great.
we're talking
2021.
2021.
Christmas Eve was Thursday, and it should have been a work day, getting out at noontime, like it's always has been. So,
But they didn't.
someone probably changed it because that's something that the board did not say.
It was approved by the board in
Yeah, because it does have Christmas.
And when, Walter?
for 2020, because it was in the town report as well.
Because we got out at 12 o'clock and we had a luncheon for the staff, I believe.
Prior to 2020.
So you got 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I'm only going by what was in the personnel policy that I pulled up.
Right, which was amended.
11's always been standard, so I don't,
Oh, 11 was a standard, Tim?
yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know Christmas Eve was a holiday. It's often just an early
I think
release.
The last TA might have switched that around.
Okay, well, we're gonna have to amend the policy or go with Walter's recommendation. What's the board's pleasure?
How many are on the list here? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Yeah.
But it's 13 because Christmas Day is over in the other column.
No, say that again.
Well, I'm just looking at the holiday schedule, and there's 12 days. They've
Right.
got Christmas Eve is that front, and then Christmas Day is over in the other column for the transfer station. So maybe it's just what this schedule is, that there's 12 days. But yeah, normally it's Christmas Day that's the holiday.
Okay, what do we want to do here?
That's going to need to be some research,
We-
maybe.
Do we want to change the personnel policy back to what people recollect it was? Or how do we want to handle it?
Well, it says if the holiday falls on a Saturday, the town of Northwood will observe the holiday on the Friday before, which is how you get that Christmas Eve on there. If the holiday falls on Sunday, the town will observe on Monday. So I just have the question of, is it 11 holidays we have, or is it 12? I don't
That's-
see a problem with the
Walter?
holidays that are listed here.
I was just gonna say that the current personnel policy that was amended in 2019 includes Christmas Eve as a holiday for a total of 12. Prior to that, as far as the town reports, I researched back a few years, town report wise, it was never listed as a town holiday. So it appears it was
Right.
added in 2019 for 2020 for the first time.
For a total of 12.
Right.
But if we kept that Christmas Eve as a holiday, then we would actually, for 2022, be at a total of 13. If
No.
Christmas isn't on a Saturday.
No, it doesn't have anything to do with which days it is. The debate needs to be over whether we're going to have 12 or 11 holidays. Then the calendar
Now,
and
well, the way I see it now is 12 or 13, because as he just read in 2019, the amendment was made to add Christmas Eve as a holiday
right,
for a total of 12.
right.
But
So
there was a total of 12 already.
Did the
no,
old
Christmas
board
Eve
vote
not
on
being
that?
a Saturday.
I don't remember voting on that.
Remember that?
Or did the last TA just approve that herself?
That was BW.
Say that again, Walter?
That was BW before Walter.
Yeah.
Oh, BW. Well, well,
He's
hold on.
smart.
So if you, so Hal, if you keep Christmas Eve as a holiday and Christmas Day is not a Saturday or a Sunday, then you now have 13 paid holidays.
No,
No.
you never do it that way. You have a certain number of
Well,
holidays.
according to
You-
2019.
11 is
you
standard.
did-
They added Christmas Eve without anybody knowing it, and that's going to be taken
Yeah.
off the books.
Right, they added Christmas Eve as a holiday.
Right, but what I'm saying is, in terms of how you handle personnel, the policy will define the total number of days, whether it's 10, 11, or 12. The calendar will then
Correct.
determine when you take those days. You don't change the number of holidays based on the calendar. The policy will set, you got a fixed number of holidays. So
Correct. And how
I'm looking
somebody
here.
did put Christmas Eve. The
what?
wording's in there specifically.
Yeah, I
The
understand.
wording for Christmas Eve is in there specifically.
Yeah.
So Susan, the board voted on personnel.
Yeah, I'm looking here.
Message
This was adopted on August 1st, 2019, and my name's on it.
Heather rewrote the,
Yeah. I don't recollect that being one of the things we discussed.
Heather rewrote the whole thing, and when she added the word Christmas Eve specifically as 12, it was probably because anticipating Saturday as a Christmas,
No, I
But
think it's just,
but
It
it
That
says
does make
Christmas
it.
Day observed 2024. I'm sorry, 12/24. Is that because it was a Friday on this email?
Well, had she not put the word Christmas Eve in, then Christmas Eve this year, 2021, would have been the holiday. But when she put the specific word Christmas Eve in as a
All
holiday.
right, well, we have the right to change the policy, so what, I mean, 11 is standard.
What's
That's
more
what,
important, the day after Thanksgiving or Christmas Eve?
well, I think that goes back to maybe Walter's suggestion.
That's a floating holiday with the discretion of the department head or Walter, if he has the right staffing, right? He can allow it.
That would be my preference.
You ask for it, but if he doesn't have the staffing, he can tell you to work and you'll have to pick another one, so.
It'd be no different than a personal day or something.
I just think, I think, you know, Hal, just for my clarity, the wording has to be clarified.
Yeah.
Because
How
as
do we
long
want-
as it says Christmas Eve, we're stuck.
Oh, yeah, I think that's I think that's well, again, I shouldn't say we're stuck per se. My experience is if the personnel policy lists X number of holidays and the calendar means there's a disruption in that counting, then there's I don't want to call it an edict, but then somebody just says, well, since Christmas Eve is double counted, we're going to make it some other day. We don't change the number of holidays. So I think really what we need to discuss first is, are we going to have 11 or 12? Right now, the policy is signed and it says 12. Do we want to keep it at that or do we want to move it back to 11? I think that's the first question. And then if we're going to leave it at 12, then we need to have the discussion as to what those 12 are. And maybe to Walter's point, maybe one of them needs to be a floating day. Walter?
It might be helpful to maybe to table this until the next meeting so we can do some research on the minutes when the policy was approved and see if there was any discussion,
Yeah.
just for clarity purposes.
Yeah, because I have to say, I do not recollect a discussion of increasing the number of holidays. I'm not necessarily opposed to that, but I don't remember that discussion. And, you know, maybe the minutes would help clarify that. So.
Well, we definitely approved the personnel policy.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
Should have
yeah.
had it, so.
Yeah. What I don't know is what was all, you know, usually there's a list of errata or changes or whatever. So maybe we need to look at like what maybe this first step is the minutes and the meeting pack associated with it.
Right.
And then to me, it makes a lot of sense, Walter, to maybe just have some informal conversations with staff and get a sense of, you know, where the priorities would be in terms of how to work those holidays, right? I mean, like Beth said, what's more important, Christmas Eve or the day after Thanksgiving?
That one's listed.
I know, yeah.
Well, this year, Christmas Eve would have been listed because of the holiday policy with the Christmas Day falling on Saturday. So that would have occurred this year without any wording change.
Okay, so Walter, are people comfortable tabling it at this point?
Yes.
Okay, so Walter, we need to then circle back on this one next time.
Yep.
Let's not let this slide, you know, like Beth said, let's deal with these things, move on. And okay, I guess that's it for agenda items. I'll move on to Citizens Forum. Anybody online want to speak?
Hey, Susan, it looks like Chris Brown might be trying to get into the meeting. Is he in the waiting room if you're there?
I saw him earlier online.
He just turned around in my driveway about 10 minutes ago, so he must be
There
in
he
this
is.
area.
I'm not running it. Paul is.
Oh,
I
sorry.
just went to add him in.
Thank you, Paul.
So what is,
Okay. Are we, okay, so there's nobody for citizens forum. Walter, I think the only thing for non-public is the approval of the minutes. Was there other items that we needed to discuss?
I have one other item for some attorney-client information.
Okay, so that one's associated with reputation.
Yes, see,
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to go into non-public for reputation.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Before we do the vote, let's go over the logistics. Matt, are you gonna take control of the meeting at this point?
Sure.
Okay, so Paul, can you turn that over to Matt, please?
Before we go into non-public, seeing as Chris was trying to get in, do we want to make sure he doesn't have anything he needs to share with us since he just joined the meeting?
Walter, did he ask for any agenda items?
no, he didn't. I
Okay.
wasn't aware.
He may have
of it.
just gotten kicked out. That's probably more likely.
Did you ask him to come to the meeting?
No, he wasn't asked to come.
Okay. Yeah, maybe he was just following along. It is an interesting meeting.
He said he would pop in, as a citizen.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, let's, I mean, we obviously, if something's come up and we need to address it, we need to, allow some time for it. But, obviously, let's encourage him to get it on the agenda if it's not an emergency. Okay, so you ready to take over, Matt?
We're gonna do citizens forum before we,
I already asked and nobody asked.
all right.
Yeah,
No
right.
emails or anything came in?
no.
I am the host now. Did we vote on going into non-public? I can't-
Not yet. I wanted to wait until you had control. So now we're voting on going into non-public for reputation.
Paul didn't shut off the YouTube.
I can shut that down.
You
He
can.
will
Okay.
he will
After we
after
vote, yep.
after the vote.
Okay.
After the vote. So Pam, how do you vote?
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Beth,
Yes.
and Tim?
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, so now you can shut off the YouTube and